Thank you, and thank you for. I understand that you did, and I'm grateful for that and for all your leadership on this issue. Nearly a decade ago, California became the first state in the nation to adopt a comprehensive consumer privacy law, the California Consumer Privacy Act. This was shortly followed by the establishment of the California Privacy Protection Agency, which has served Californians for the last 5 years by implementing and enforcing the state's privacy laws. Other states have looked to California and our example and followed our lead, especially as new technologies have emerged, AI, facial recognition, algorithmic targeting, each posing more sophisticated threats to Americans' privacy. At the end of the day, California has proven you can be the fourth largest economy in the world and be home to the most innovative technology companies on the planet, and you can still protect consumers' fundamental right to privacy. To this end, I'd like to enter into the record a letter from the California Privacy Protection Agency on the importance of a federal privacy law that creates robust baseline protections while allowing states like California to continue to adopt stronger protections and respond to the rapidly changing technologies being built in our own backyard. May that letter be entered in the record?
Of course it will, yes. Just procedural.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. The horrific political assassinations last month targeting Minnesota lawmakers that I know Ranking Member Klobuchar has already referenced were aided in part by a data broker and website the shooter used to look up politicians' addresses. A recent investigation also revealed that a data broker owned and operated by at least 9 major U.S. airlines secretly sold Americans information collected through flight records to U.S. Customs and Border Protection and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Starting on January 1st, 2026, 40 million Californians will be able to go to a single web page hosted by the California Privacy Protection Agency and request that their data be deleted from over 500 data brokers if they choose. Federal legislation that preempts California's Delete Act without meaningful consideration of state-level protections could mean that Californians will lose this touch-of-a-button ability to know how their data is being used and have a voice in it. Mr. Butler, Mr. Levine, how can a federal privacy law include better regulation of data brokers, including their registration in a central clearinghouse, and allow Americans to prevent their personal information from being sold to outside entities like we have done in California with the soon-to-be-implemented Delete Act?
Thank you, Senator Schiff, for the question. I think that California really has taken the lead here on tackling the problems of data brokers in this specific context. And I think both the requirements of registering, given that the average consumer has no way really to know what data brokers exist and who might have access to their information, and also providing a centralized mechanism to allow for deletion of data held by these entities are really important protections, especially because this is a massive problem that requires scaled solutions, right? This isn't a situation where an individual consumer can be expected to go to every single one of hundreds or thousands of data brokers and submit individualized requests. So I think both of those are really important protections that have been developed in California.
Mr. Levine, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
You are. Thank you, Senator. I fully agree with Mr. Butler on the need for a floor rather than a ceiling, consistent with other federal privacy laws. I'll make a quick point. I started my career at a state attorney general. In the run-up to the financial crisis, it was state AGs desperately trying to stop subprime mortgages, the innovative products of the day, and it was federal banking regulators cheered on by big banks that were actively trying to stop them. So as I hear today, big tech companies go around Washington saying we need to hit delete at all of these important state laws like the one you referenced, Senator, I recall that similar conversations 2 decades ago, and I recall well what happened in our country as a result. 2 quick points specifically on data brokers. The first is that we brought a series of enforcement actions under Chair Khan at the FTC, and what we required data brokers to do, we banned them from sharing sensitive location data, and we prohibited them from building profiles of consumers based on sensitive geolocation data. I think that's a really important precedent. I think Congress also acted, I think in the last Congress with the, I'm going to get this wrong, Protecting American Data from Foreign Adversaries Act, PADFA, Given the FTC enforcement authority, I think it's regrettable that 6 months into this administration, we've not seen a single enforcement action. I hope that changes.
Madam Chair, do I have time for one more?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. Over the past few months, I've led a number of letters, along with my colleagues, to the Trump administration in response to alarming reports that various agency officials have ordered states to hand over the personal data of millions of Medicaid enrollees, as well as SNAP recipients and applicants to the Department of Homeland Security. These actions are a remarkable departure from established federal privacy protections and should alarm everyone. I've demanded the administration reverse these actions, which likely violate several federal and state privacy laws, including the Privacy Act of 1974, HIPAA, and the Social Security Act. Mr. Levine, what precedent does it set when federal agencies under the administration simply bypass established privacy laws that have protected Americans for decades and demand that states hand over their residents' most sensitive information with little or no explanation? And how does this compare to privacy protections in other democratic nations? Are we seeing the U.S. now fall behind international standards for protecting citizens' data?
Thank you, Senator. I think we have the right standards here, at least with respect to government. It's not clear whether government officials are following them. And that makes me very worried. One of my consistent messages as an enforcer to big tech companies and to everyone is you need to follow privacy laws, and if you don't, there are going to be consequences. And when you have reports, and I've not verified them myself, but when you have reports of federal officials and federal agencies brazenly violating hard-won privacy protections around federal data, resulting in potential loss of health care, loss of jobs, loss of housing for Americans, I think that's deeply disturbing, and it raises a real question of how Congress is going to pass a privacy law to bind the private sector when the federal government isn't following its own rules. So I completely share your concern, and I hope to see changes in that from this administration.
And finally, if I could very quickly, Mr. Butler, you mentioned that there were a list of other privacy laws where Congress had set a floor, not a ceiling. Can you share a few of those with us?
Absolutely, and I'm happy to supplement the record with that as well. But just to note that basically every major federal privacy law sets either a floor or a conflict preemption standard, and that includes the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, the Right to Financial Privacy Act, the Cable Communications Privacy Act, the Video Privacy Protection Act, the Employee Polygraph Protection Act, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, the Driver's Privacy Protection Act, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, and the Fair Credit Reporting Act. These are not ceiling preemptions. They don't limit states' abilities to adapt and evolve and protect their citizens more.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ranking Member. I appreciate it.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. And this is a lot of great testimony and